Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to harvest your lavender blossoms so that you can then dehydrate them and use them in your natural herbal medicine cabinet. First thing you need to know about harvesting your herbs is the best time of day to do it, and that is actually going to be in the morning. You want to have the dew to be kind of dried off, so you don't want to have to come out super early in the morning when it's sopping wet with dew. But ideally you want to do it before it's reached the hot part of the day. So just as the dew has begun to burn off of the grass and the leaves or the flowers, as we're doing with our lavender today, that's the time you want to harvest them because it has the highest concentration of the oils in the leaves and or in the blossoms, if that's what we're harvesting. And once the sun is out and it's in full sun and it's really hot out, then those essential oils go back into the stem and then back down into the roots of the plant. And because we are harvesting these I'm going to be using them for medicinal purposes as well as they smell amazing, I want to make sure that I've got that highest concentration of the essential oils as possible in the part that I'm harvesting. So early morning, right after the dew has begun to burn off, but before it is midday or full-on hot sun. You'll probably see I've got a little bit of some bee friends buzzing around here. They love all of the blossoms. But here we are looking at our lavender blossoms. I've got a little bit of some other blossoms in bloom coming in here as well. I've got some of my flax here, but what we're after is our lavender blossoms. When you are harvesting your lavender blossoms, you actually want to harvest them when they are still in bud form, before these little buds all along here have actually opened up into blossoming. So if these buds have already opened up and are beginning to blossom, you've kind of missed the optimal harvest window to harness all of the highest concentration of the properties that are in the bud. So I've got just a pair of shears here. You can use scissors if you want. And I'm going to be drying these manually. So I actually want quite a bit of the stem left on there. So I'm going to come down, so I've got enough stem here, and just trim these off. There we go. So now that I've got all of these buds harvested, I'm going to be taking them indoors to dry them. And I didn't completely shear the bush. This is the first blossoms that I've gotten off of this plant, and we're at the time of this recording, we are almost officially summer, but it's still technically really late spring. So I took the blossoms that were the biggest. So they had more at the top here and they were larger, and they were also the longer ones. So I didn't completely shear off the plant, though you can, because I still had some of those younger, more immature baby blossoms that would grow and become larger, and I want to harvest them when they're at their largest point, so I'm getting more for my time and my effort. But the other great thing about harvesting your lavender blossoms like this in the late spring or early summer is you will oftentimes get a second growth of blooms come the end of summer and beginning of fall when you do it this way. Oh, and you guys, it smells so amazing. The smell of fresh lavender is one of my absolute favorites. And as they begin to dry, your house is going to smell that way as well. It's also important when you are harvesting them, you'll notice that I am really holding these down here by the stem. I don't want to crush the blossoms because I want to make sure that I'm retaining as much of the essential oil as possible up here in the blooms. So I'm not handling them via their blooms if at all possible. I'm only doing so down here by the stems, and that's why you also want to make sure that you cut them longer and so that you've got this stem part. Now, if you're interested in learning how to grow your own herbs, especially to make an medicinal herbal garden, I will pop the link in the video description below here, and I'll put a link in the video so you can go and check out that as well. But now we're going to go in the house and let's show you how to dry these. While you are always welcome to dry your herbs in a dehydrator, I really like to dry my lavender the old-fashioned way. So I'm going to show you how I bundle it together and then my favorite hanging spot. So here we've got our lavender that we have just cut, and I've got it laid out flat. I've got one of my favorite all-purpose homesteading tools, and that is some jute twine and a pair of scissors. So I try and make sure that all of the stems are down here at the bottom where I'm going to be tying it, so that when I tie it I don't miss any and I don't have any that fall out. And then I just do a basic slip knot like that, so then I can hang it from this right here. So you can see I don't have it pulled super tight, but as this begins to dry, the stems will shrink up. So I like to make sure that I've got enough there that I can tighten it up if need be, but I don't want to have it too tight in the beginning because I do want to have some airflow and keep an eye out so that I don't have any mold that starts to grow before it has a chance to dry out. Okay, so let's go and get this hung, my favorite spot. And even though this time of year I don't technically have a fire going, it's still my favorite spot to hang and dry my herbs, and I'll show you why. So this is a rack that my husband built for me that hangs next to the wall that's pretty close to our wood stove. So as you can imagine, in the winter months when we've got a fire going, you can hang wet clothes here and they will dry out really easily. But it also makes it an excellent spot to hang my herbs when I need them to dry. So even though I don't have a wood stove going, it's still a great hook area. And it also allows me to keep an eye on them. So if mold or anything like that was starting to develop, which I have never happened when I've been hanging them this way, but I would be able to keep a close eye and to see when they are fully dried, so then I can move them to either a sealed container or get them going in my infused oil, which is usually what I use my lavender for, though sometimes it varies. Now, one of the reasons that you want to make sure that you are hanging your lavender upside down to dehydrate and not just putting it in a jar, even though this is fully dehydrated lavender from last year that I have just sitting in a mason jar just as some fun decor, is if you put it in a jar like this or a vase or anything when it's fresh to let it dry, it will dry this way, but gravity takes over and they'll all droop over and they will dry bent. And so it's a lot easier once they're dry if you're going to be removing the little lavender buds off of here, if you're going to be using them in tea or making your infused oil or however it is that you're going to want to be using it and removing the buds, to remove them from a complete vertical straight dried stem rather than have it be bent over. At least I find that. And I like to have mine dehydrated. I can later decide if I want to turn that into a tincture or an infused oil, or just use it in tea or in food or in soap making. But it's got the most versatility when it's been dehydrated for me then to turn it into and use it in all of the different forms that I do within our home. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure that you hit subscribe, and then you can also go and watch our infused oil video, and let me know in the comments below if you are harvesting any of your own herbs this year. Thanks so much, and I will see you on the next video.